buyers or aggressive sellers, right? The entire auction is wiped out. So that means buyers, and for basic knowledge, when you see a zero, that means that buyers and sellers have both agreed on a fair price. So if we take this back and we just use a little bit of logic here, when price comes into a bearish fair value gap, we want to know if that bearish fair value gap is actually going to hold. We want to know if the aggressive sellers are going to show up. We want to know if sellers are really in control. So how do we do that? So order flow allows us to essentially see who's in the most pain and who is being absorbed, right? Who's being exhausted, right? These are terms I'm going to go over in this video. So if we see a lot of aggressive buyers, coming into a bearish fair value gap, and those sellers aren't able to drive price higher, because we can see price kind of exhausted out before breaking this fair value gap over here. So we see a ton of aggressive buyers. So let's actually read the order flow step by step. We're coming into a bearish fair value gap, and we're coming in with tons of aggressive buying, right? We see 876 for 418. So that's roughly a 2-to-1. So there's twice as many aggressive buyers and as there are aggressive sellers, right? 800 for 400. That's only 800 buyers for only 800 sellers, and only 400 buyers, and over 867 aggressive buyers, right? There's more buyers than sellers, but the market failed to break this level. So you want to ask yourself, when there's lots of aggressive buyers, but the market isn't moving higher, what does that tell you about this zone, right? What does that tell you about this zone over here? What does that tell you about this zone over here? So this is a bearish fair value gap, and there's lots of aggressive buyers in this zone. There's lots of aggressive buyers that are trying to drive price higher, but the market isn't budging, right? The market isn't going higher. So what does that tell you about the fair value gap, right? So that tells you that we are at a strong level of supply. We're at a strong fair value gap. The fair value gap is being held. So what that means essentially is that a lot of traders kind of mess this up as well, where they think there's more buyers and sellers, right? Oh, there's more buyers and sellers. There can never be more buyers and sellers, because in auction, there's only ever buyers and seller. For every buyer, there has to be a seller, and for every seller, there has to be a buyer, right? There's always a 1-to-1 ratio. So when you look at this, right, let's take a look at another example, right? We have a finished auction over here. So again, going back to the lesson, we have a 0 on one side. So when we have a 0 on one side, it means the auction has been wiped out. Now the row underneath is interesting, where we have a finished auction. So the market participants have agreed that this is a fair price, right? So the market is less likely to visit that price. So this price specifically was at 60.83. So once we have a wiped out auction at 60.83, the 0 significantly increases the chances of price not going back there. So this is the power of using order flow. When you see a 0, it means the auction has been wiped out, and there's a lower probability that the market is going to retest that price. Now, if we look at the row underneath, we have 173 for 500. Now, from an order flow perspective, from the delta here is massively positive, right? And then from here, we see a lot of aggressive red delta, right, after this. So this is the beauty of order flow, because you can read exactly where the orders are failing, right? These are failed buyers. These are failed buyers. These are failed buyers because we're at a key level. We are